by lawyers.
Yeah, absolutely.
By lawyers in New Zealand that are telling them lawyers in New Zealand are telling them to break the law. When the lawyers in New Zealand know perfectly, I'm just saying, everyone's saying, all the lawyers have said to me, I didn't know that existed. They should know. They should. And how can we, with our high school education, know this and they don't know it? No, well, there's a crime right there.
Yeah, but also even in that, saying that, Kate, because, you know, they'll talk about the Nuremberg Code and stuff like that, and Helen Clark ratified it, and it's like, well, you know, Helen Clark is part of the United Nations, she's part of bringing in, you know, these international instruments. So
the Nuremberg
the
Nuremberg Code has got death penalties attached to it.
Yeah.
And that is against our common law right. Because their death penalty, see, let's just really know what the Nuremberg Code means. It is an outside court that is not voted in by you, and they make laws in that court that you have no power over, and they have to make laws in that court that are not. Every country has different laws, right? So they have to make laws based on all of the 200 countries. And their laws that they make are not based on the common law right. And so their punishments can be changed. It can be anything what they want. They can say, that man there needs to be shot, and that man there needs to be hanged, and that man there needs to be drowned because that man drowned 2,000 children. So therefore the punishment is going to be he will be drowned and his children will be drowned also. They have the power to do that. So that's why it's not accepted, and it may be ratified, but it's not in our country. Ratified.
Oh, is that American law? Like that's what they do? That's why they still have the death penalty?
You go and check it, because I'm not going to go into today, but you go and look at all of those things. America set all those courts up.
Yes.
And then a year before, about 6 months before when everybody had signed, they bailed. They have bailed on all of it. They're not signed to any of it because they've got a law that says they will not be bound by any international laws. They're not. So we've got that law too in here in the supremacy law. And America has said everyone else has got to follow these courts. The only time America upholds these courts is when they're going in order to get something for their citizens or their countries that they support. But whenever it involves one of their army members, their army personnel that stood and pissed all over the Afghanistan soldier, their 5 members stood in Afghanistan and pissed all over the dead bodies of the Afghan opposition. Pissed on it. It is freaking disgusting. Sorry, because I just have to swear. It's disgusting. Now, any other country, because of all of these courts that America has set up, any other country would have had to go to the International Court for War Crimes, because that is a war crime. But America does it because they're not signed up. So that I'm saying, they're saying, you follow it, but we don't have to. And they set up the Indigenous rights, and they put all our New Zealand Maori and all of our Australian Aboriginals and all of our Canadian Inuits, they put them all under the Indigenous rights. And in the last hour, they bailed and they wrote Indigenous rights for their American Indians, and they forced us to follow all of these fundamental rights, religious rights, fundamental rights, all these thousands and thousands of laws. We have all been bound to that while America bailed.
So it doesn't actually, like under the United Nations, Indigenous rights was it the rights of Indigenous people? The American Indians don't have that. They've got their own separate one.
They just got it in 2017. They did that. I think it was 2000. Don't quote me on the date. But America set this whole thing up and bailed on the last minute. And if you go and look at all of these things set up, they bail on every single one on the last minute when all the countries have signed up. And so this is what's going on in Russia, because they did this in Ukraine. They flooded Ukraine with money. They flooded Ukraine with all of these rights that they were going to get. And then and then they said to Ukraine, when Ukraine said, "Oh, we've got all this money," I'm saying to you, Maoris, we've got all this money, we've got all these rights, we've got all these wonderful, and then they said, "We want to set up our military bases in your country for your protection." This is what Vladimir Putin is talking about. He's saying they have done this in all of the NATO countries. They've said, we're not going to go any further than a certain area and we're going to stop. And then they just keep creeping and creeping and creeping. And it's about time we all clued on to what's going on here. We're under attack through all of this. And
haven't they? As you say, Afghanistan, NATO.
Yeah, in Afghanistan, when they pissed on the, and I think there were some other things that went on in there. Now, this is, it's not that I want to be rude or anything, but I'm just saying that the country that seems to be doing all the fighting doesn't seem to be Russia or China or any of we're all just trying to protect ourselves against the force.
America has a military in just about, quite a number of countries, don't they? So there's your answer. They seem to be
I think we have to face this fact. Nobody has wanted to. Nobody has wanted to face this. But what we all have to remember is that England and America did split in the 1700s. And we were left with our common law, and they went and wrote themselves a different because they didn't want to be under the common law restrictions to their parliament. That's what happened. Now, this is very deep here. What's going on is very deep, but I'm just saying to us in New Zealand.
Some countries, Kate, that have, like in America, that are still under the Commonwealth. Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we need them to come in as well, but I don't know if they'll be able to because I think they'll get attacked. But we need them to come in. There are some countries in America.
Not many left.
I heard that Texas is one, and I think, yes, and I think maybe Massachusetts or either Massachusetts or Mississippi is one. The ones when they had the fight, there were two fights that went on. The first fight was to get the British common law out. And then the second fight were the ones that wanted to keep the British common law and the ones that wanted to keep the new American Declaration of Independence. They went to battle. All those states that won at that point, they all stayed in the common law under the Commonwealth. So America's been getting all of them to dump their birth certificates as well, because you can see here. Look, it says it right here. Nobody's lying to you here. It says it right here.
And obviously that's what they've been doing in New Zealand, is under the common law, not our common law 1688.
Yeah, they're trying to get all the Maori to leave their birth certificates because the Maori are the only natives. The Maori were the only natives that went to the court. They actually went to the court 3 times and declared themselves subject. And so they have their declarations. And the only way to get them out of that was to get them to leave their birth certificates. And so the Americans have been all over New Zealand with Liz Lambert, telling them to dump their birth certificates of the English. Because it says it right here. Go and look at the limitation of the Crown. Can you see limitation of the Crown? Oh, no. Go to William and Mary declared King and Queen.
Yeah.
And it says it right there. It says, are fully, entirely invested and incorporated, united and annexed. They made us into a corporation. They needed to do that to incorporate us into a huge society so that we could have a Queen's Army to stop the parliaments from abusing everybody. They wanted to stop the parliaments. They wanted the people to have self-governance, but they wanted to stop the parliaments from having all of this power. And so it does say there, it says it right there under William and Mary that you would be incorporated. And that's when they started creating the birth certificates. And then you go to limitation of the Crown.
Yeah.
And then it says there, right down the bottom, it says they will protect all of this with their lives and estates. And all their estates went into the corporation. And that is why we have the governments that we have. The countries that did not have this common law, they are all dictatorships, all of them. And so...
Dictatorship.
Hey?
What did you say? They're under dictatorship?
Well, they're not really under dictatorships, but they don't have parliaments like we have them with so much freedom because they have to be very restricted because otherwise the people will just go in and sell all their properties and everything. So they have to be very restricted. But we got this one so that we could have a little bit more freedom. We don't get many freedoms, but we do get a few. And so that we used our estates for that. Our countries would put under this. So that's why this is what the Commonwealth is all about, the common law. This is the common law staring you right in the face right here. And
so then they're getting a circle common law under the American system.
Well, this one here, when you go to subject liberties allowed, when the Parliament is approved of by the Governor General, it ascends to the Queen, and when it ascends to the Queen, it's ascending to God, in a sense, because it says there. It says right there, it says here, whom it has pleased Almighty God to make glorious instruments. Yeah, so when they make a law, they go and they say, okay, we want to make this law and we want to stop people from going out. They go down to all of these and they look at all what the Parliament, they look at all of this and then they make the law. Well, when they make the law, it must ascend to God. So that law has to ascend to God, and then God decides, well, through the instrument of the Queen. So in a sense, it does ascend directly to God. And through the instrument of the Queen decides through her Lord Spiritual, the Lord Spiritual and the Lord's Temporal, which are here, they decide if that, so it ascends to God. But what they're trying to do, the United Nations law does not ascend to God. It only ascends to the World Health Organization. It ascends to a different place.
It's like a corporation.
Yeah. So
a private corporation.
We're all corporations. America is incorporated also, but our incorporation has to, in order to work in our corporation, because all corporations have rules, right?
Yeah.
A corporation has rules and constitutions for it to be a corporation because you can't incorporate it unless you do that. So, of course, our corporation has to ascend to God in the common law. But none of their corporations do. It only ascends to the United States Senate or the federal court or whatever. I don't know what they have there, but it doesn't ascend to God. Only ours is the only one that ascends to God.
It's not taking the Bible out of Parliament, and then, they're obviously having to make sure that they, adhere to the Common Law 1688, about churches.
No, well, we haven't gotten a declaration for that. So they're just because if you don't go and get a declaration against it, then that means that you didn't challenge them, that you didn't mind what they were doing.
Yes. So it's almost like say, I'm trying to just think of it as your non-commitment to something. If someone sends you something and they say, right, this is something that's happening, and if you don't actually write that, you've contracted into that.
Yes, this is where the contract occurs, because you haven't. Yeah, that's the contract that they're talking about, because they're telling you the right thing, but they're deceiving you. That's where the contract, because you don't dispute it. See, every single. I'll tell you about that 1990. I won't do it today, but I think you've all got the general idea. So when you don't.
Every single person that wants to come under, the Commonwealth and have their Common Law 1688 Bill of Rights recognised, then they have to do their declaration to the court.
There's no other way. And then that ascends to God.
Yeah. Is it personal? Like, is it part that you could do as a family, or?
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to do that with families. So I'm going to get mine in and see what declaration comes back. And then I'm thinking that I'm going to do it for families, all families that want to go and get that declaration, and, groups of families, all of them that want to do it, because they've got 15,000 army members that are saying we don't want to have this common law. They've got 15,000 police that are saying we don't want to have common law. They've got 3 political parties that are saying we don't want to have this common law. So we all better get there and start declaring, because we're in a lot of trouble. But that is the way. And then when we get a large group of those declarations, we can then take that as a single unit to the court and get a huge declaration in defence of our common law. And of course, the Commonwealth, they have to follow, the Queen will have to follow, Lord Spiritual will have to follow, everyone will have to follow, but nobody's claimed for on this for 200 years, except for the New Zealand Maori. The New Zealand Maori claimed this 3 times. So they are our, what do you say? They're the Holy Grail. They're why the United Nations is so interested in them, because for 400 years, the only people, to my knowledge, that have gone to the court and claimed this declaration to be subjects by court order 3 times are our New Zealand Maori. So they are the holy grail to follow, but they've been deceived. So when they realise what they've got, they're going to say, oh, heck, because they're trying to get them to follow tikanga, customary law outside of this. Well, this is customary law. This is all their laws right there. Because this, I've tried to explain it, but they don't understand me. I don't know, maybe they watch my video. But in 400 years, the New Zealand Maori were the only ones who 3 times went to the court and declared themselves subjects. And the Americans...
In that situation, if they themselves subjects...
Because the American common law, I have it on good people that have been telling me that the American common lawyers have been getting them to renounce their birth certificates and replacing them with a new birth certificate. You see this as a corporation, right? And telling them to leave this corporation and just have a birth certificate by themselves. So they've left their protections. And when they find out what they've done, they're going to have to go back to the court and ask to be replaced back into it. We're far from there. We're not up to there, you know. It's a long way to go.
Is it all the Maoris that have done that?
No, but they've been
just certain tribes.
They've been doing it with entire tribes. In Canada also. the Australian Aboriginals, they haven't been able to get so far because the Australian Aboriginals are very simple people and they're not able to pick up on it. And so it's been harder. But they're trying to do it state by state in the Aboriginals of Australia too. And so you can see kind of where they're going. But we better end our video now. But
right. I would have thought something. Thank you for all that enlightenment.
Thank you. All right. And and I'll just say to everybody that I will put up my thing for my donations. I'll put it on the thing for my donations. And it's not that I'm greedy and I want thousands of dollars, or I even like to do it for free. But if anybody wants to make a donation, then they can make a donation. I don't think I should be ashamed to ask for that, because I have put many hours into this. Yes, I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning working until 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And so, but I don't want people to put in huge amounts or anything. But if you feel that you want to put in a donation in for me, Kate Floss, and the money doesn't go towards any court documents or anything. It just goes towards me, and I can buy myself a treat. And so I'm not saying that I'm going to use this money to save you or get you a birth certificate or nothing. I just use it to go and buy myself a treat if I want to, or get myself something nice to eat, or maybe buy a bottle of perfume or something. But because I don't get a lot, but I have had some people put in. If somebody's already put in, don't go putting in again, because I don't want you to do that. I don't want to, and if you're poor people, don't go and put in either. But if you're a person of means and you don't want to follow these lawyers that are telling you to break the law, which I think is not a very nice thing of them to do. Oh, and I'll just put in the last bit. Now that we've gone on, I just want to really put in this last bit. Let's just try and get some peace and tranquility for a while we try and sort this out. This is not going to happen in one day. It's going to take a bit of time. So if we can just get some peace and get some calm in New Zealand and Australia, just get some calm, we can go back and sort this out in the correct way, in the peaceful and tranquil way, not in the chaotic way that these lawyers are stirring you up to do. So we're going to do it in the peaceful way, okay? So I really can't emphasize enough how much you need to get your country back into peace. And so just, if they tell you to lock your doors, lock your doors. If they tell you not to go out, don't go out. If they tell you that you're going to lose your job because of these injections, then just lose your job and we'll sort it out later. Stop fighting over your lands, we'll sort it out later. We need to get everything back to a peaceful place where we can follow the correct laws and the correct procedures to get the things that you want. You can get what you want, in the right way.
Children, for our future generations.
Yeah, for your children and everything. And I don't think you're doing your children any favours at the moment with what's going on. You're just teaching them in the wrong way. And you go through, if I was a lawyer, and I'm not a lawyer, but you go through the correct process first. And when that doesn't work, we've been given many, many, many avenues here. You go through the correct protest first. And if that doesn't work, that's when you go to protest. That's when you go to war. That's when you go against the Parliament. But you must follow the correct, use the tools that you've been given, use the correct process first. And then we don't know if it's going to work. I'm not saying it's going to work, but I'm saying nobody's done it. So, so we want everybody to step back for a minute and go here. I'll just put it up one more time so that everybody can see where I want you to go. Right, we want everybody to go to the limitation of the crown. And that is a limitation of you, because we are all crowns. And it says here that we must be in peace and tranquility and safety. So, the way to be in peace, tranquility and safety is to follow the orders of the Prime Minister. She's the Prime Minister. Jacinda Ardern is the Prime Minister. Follow in peace and tranquility and safety. She'd say, go and lock yourself down, then go and lock yourself down, and then follow the process of the tools that we need. If we think that they're not doing it correctly, to have them removed. So that's where we all go, and that's where we, in our group, Diane, our new group, is where we're going to be encouraging everybody to follow that process for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, they've been protesting and, you know, knocking on the Governor General's door and that for the last, 2 years. And, you know, it's not doing anything. There's no result, and all it is creating exhaustion, frustration and confusion. So much confusion out there for everybody. But right, we need to get that peace and tranquility back again. And you know, our connection to God, or you know, whoever is our creator, and just get some perspective on this.
Yeah. Get some perspective, because you know, you when you're in the storm.
Yeah.
You're in the storm. You can't do it. You make irrational decisions.
Yes, absolutely. You can't see that what wood for the trees, or you know, it is. It's very, very confusing. It's not the place to be coming from and just making decisions. It's not a good place.
And sometimes it's better to just leave the storm there, and leave the storm and go outside of it for a minute and wait for the storm to calm. And then you can come back in when it's a bit calmer, and you can pick up the pieces.
Yeah,
but and so a new energy, you know, just racing in there and running in amongst the storm is not, it's not good for you. And so anyone will tell you whenever there's going to be a big storm, that is what they'll tell you. Because always go back to nature, that's what they'll tell you, to let the storm, go outside, wait for it to calm down, and then come back in and fix it in a calm way, and salvage the wreckage. So that's
what you do in a storm, don't you? You button down the hatches and then you go and salvage what you need to. You know, it's a new day. It's, you know, there's always a season for everything.
Exactly. There's a season for everything. And so yes, so I think we'll just, all of our group, in our My Mary PN groups, we're all just going to do that, and then let everybody else do what they want to do. But we're just going to go to a quiet place, and in a tranquil place, and then come at it from a different angle. And I think that's how we're going to do it, isn't it? All right then. So I'll see you later. Bye, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.